Sydney Sweeney being 16 years younger than Scooter Braun is honestly the first thing everyone notices about this relationship, and the math is actually kind of wild. Sydney was born September 12th, 1997, which makes her 28 years old. Scooter just turned 45 on June 18th, 2026, which means there's literally a 16-year gap between them. He has children with his ex-wife, Yael Cohen, who could honestly be Sydney's siblings in another universe. Now look, big age gaps happen in Hollywood all the time. They sometimes even work out, but the optics here are loud. Scooter is a fully formed music industry mogul with 3 kids and a whole life behind him. Sydney is at the peak of her career rise, just dissolved her engagement, and is figuring out her next chapter. Those are 2 very different life stages on paper. Some outlets have also misreported the age gap as 17 years, but it's actually 16 years and 3 months. Still a lot. People are absolutely allowed to date who they want. But the gap is just hard to ignore. Sydney Sweeney jumped into this relationship with Scooter Braun just months after ending her 7-year engagement, and the timing is honestly a major red flag. Sydney was engaged to businessman Jonathan Davino, who is actually 14 years older than her, born June 19th, 1983. They started dating in 2018. They got engaged in 2022. They officially called off the engagement in March 2025. By June 2025, just 3 months later, Sydney was already being seen with Scooter at Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's wedding in Venice, Italy. That's barely time to breathe between relationships. Now, here's where it gets even messier. On November 16th, 2025, Sydney was actually photographed getting into Jonathan's car after a World Series Game 7 dinner at Giorgio Baldi restaurant in Santa Monica. A source near her home told TMZ she was overheard saying, "I don't believe you. Please leave. Leave me alone." Neither Sydney nor Jonathan ever commented publicly. So even while dating Scooter, there was clearly unresolved drama with her ex. Going from a 7-year engagement to a fully serious new relationship in months is brave, or maybe reckless. Scooter Braun is honestly best known to most pop fans as the man who made Taylor Swift absolutely furious, and dating him will follow Sydney Sweeney forever. Back in June 2019, Scooter's company Ithaca Holdings purchased Big Machine Label Group for around $300 to $330 million, depending on the source. That deal included the master recordings to Taylor Swift's first 6 albums. Taylor was livid. She posted on Tumblr on June 30th, 2019, calling the sale her worst-case scenario, and accused Scooter of years of what she described as bullying behavior. Her exact words about hearing his name in the past, always while she was either crying or trying not to. Brutal quote. Scooter then sold Taylor's masters to Shamrock Holdings for around $360 to $405 million in November 2020. Taylor went on to re-record 4 of her albums as Taylor's version releases. Eventually, on May 30th, 2025, Taylor bought her masters back from Shamrock. So Sydney is now dating the guy that Taylor Swift's entire fan base still hates. That's a global army of Swifties who are never going to forget. Scary fan base to inherit. Scooter Braun losing basically every major artist he managed in 2023 right before Sydney Sweeney met him is genuinely one of the most overlooked red flags here. In 2023, a mass exodus happened from Scooter's management roster. Justin Bieber, who Scooter literally discovered as a teenager and built into a global pop superstar, left. Ariana Grande left. Demi Lovato left. Idina Menzel left. J Balvin left. Like, all his biggest names walked at basically the same time. Scooter announced he was retiring from music management entirely in June 2024 and pivoted to a CEO role at Hype America. The mass exit raised a lot of questions about Scooter's actual reputation behind the scenes in the industry. If your biggest clients all suddenly leave you at once, something is clearly off. Scooter has never publicly addressed why exactly they all left. So now Sydney is dating someone whose own roster basically rejected him publicly. And that's a tough look. For someone like Sydney, trying to build her career to new heights, attaching herself to someone the music industry just rejected feels strategically questionable. Optics matter in Hollywood. These optics are not great. Sydney Sweeney refusing to verbally confirm her relationship with Scooter Braun in any actual interview is honestly bizarre and feels like a major red flag. Scooter went on a podcast called Second Thought with Susie Weiss on May 28th, 2026, and openly gushed about Sydney without naming her. His quote, "I've met an extraordinary woman, kind and generous and smart and real and down to earth." He called the relationship one of the biggest surprises ever.
I've met an extraordinary woman. a big part of your story.
He was kind and generous.
Meanwhile, Sydney has done the complete opposite. She told GQ for their Men of the Year issue, published November 4th, 2025, flatly, "I'm single." Then in Cosmopolitan, published January 29th, 2026, she pushed back on every single dating rumor, like repeatedly denied it. Her only acknowledgement has been through Instagram. A May -16, 2026 Stagecoach carousel captioned "Cowboy Kind of Weekend," a repost of Scooter's "My Good Luck Charm" selfie, a June 18th, 2026 birthday tribute. That's it. She's comfortable confirming it through photos, but absolutely refuses to say it out loud in any interview. That's wildly telling. When one partner is openly gushing and the other is dodging direct questions, the dynamic feels uneven. Scooter Braun having 3 young kids from his ex-wife Yael Cohen is reportedly a complication Sydney Sweeney is going to have to figure out fast. Scooter was married to activist Yael Cohen, founder of the cancer awareness charity Fuck Cancer, from July 2014. They have 3 children together, Jagger, Levi, and Hart. They separated in July 2021 and finalized their divorce in September 2022. Per court documents obtained by Us Weekly, Scooter was ordered to pay $60,000 per month total in child support, $12,000 for Jagger, $18,000 for Levi, and $30,000 for Hart. He also kept the roughly $65 million Brentwood home, a Gulfstream G450 private jet, over 100 artworks, and paid Yael a $20 million equalization payment. So now Sydney, at 28, is potentially stepping into a step-parent role to 3 young kids while she's still trying to figure out her own life. That's a massive responsibility. Stepkids in a high-profile relationship are tricky, especially when you're not even married yet. Sydney has not commented publicly on Scooter's kids at all. Different life stages indeed. Sydney Sweeney is dealing with her own problems right now, and dating Scooter Braun is reportedly making the reputational mess way worse. In 2025, Sydney was at the center of a major controversy over an American Eagle Great Genes advertising campaign that critics linked to problematic messaging around genetics. The internet went wild. Then, reports surfaced that Sydney had registered as a Republican, which earned her the nickname MAGA Barbie online. In her Cosmopolitan interview published January 29th, 2026, Sydney addressed the labeling, but notably did not fully refute it. She also dissolved her jointly held 50/50 Films LLC in December 2025 and relaunched it solely under her control. In June 2026, she launched a new production company called Honey Trap with a Sony First Look deal. So Sydney is trying to control her own narrative and brand. Stacking the Scooter Braun relationship on top of her existing controversies is reportedly creating a pileup of bad press. Outlets like Grazia have analyzed how the Scooter pairing compounds her reputational damage. Whether the relationship is helping or hurting her brand is honestly up for debate. The optics keep getting messier. Sydney Sweeney and Scooter Braun's relationship has been called a showmance by some, meaning a strategic business arrangement disguised as a real romance. The theory? Scooter, a music industry veteran, is reportedly using the relationship to propel Sydney's career, while Sydney gets a powerful industry connection. The exact framing came via the National Enquirer, claiming the whole thing started as a business relationship before turning romantic. Now, obviously, single-source tabloid claims should always be taken with a massive grain of salt. The Enquirer is not exactly the most reliable outlet, but the underlying logic does check out enough to make people wonder. Sydney is an actress trying to break into producing and building her own production companies. Scooter is one of the most well-connected music industry executives alive. The synergy is there on paper. He could absolutely open doors for her music and entertainment projects. Whether that's the actual reason they're together or just a useful side benefit of being in love is something only the two of them know. Sydney even joked in a Fandango interview about liking a bunch of red flags. Honestly, self-awareness queen.